Hello, and welcome to my long-winded series on Sheva having no nationality and why that matters. And by Sheva, I mean Sheva Alomar from the Resident Evil series. Today I found out that Carlos Oliveira also doesn't have a nationality. Both characters are listed under the fandom wiki page as their nationality being places that aren't nationality, like things that aren't nationalities. Sheva is listed as West African, and then I'll talk about what Carlos is listed as and why that's different than Sheva's scenario. Not because they're different places, just because they have different meanings. What I mean by this, I'm arguing that there are two different types of nationlessness and why they are different from each other. We can see one example of it in Sheva, and we can see one example of it in Carlos. Carlos Oliveira is also nationless, and while we could leave it at that, I think it's not that simple, and I also kind of just want to keep looking closer at it and making it more complicated than maybe it actually is, although I do think it's that complicated. I'm going to argue that ambiguity around Carlos functions differently than the ambiguity that surrounds Sheva. I'm not justifying either ambiguity, but I'm explaining why Sheva's carries more weight. Carlos Oliveira is listed as South American / mestizo in the nationality category, but neither of these things are nationalities. Instead, mestizo, from my understanding, is an ethno-cultural identifier originating from a Spanish and Portuguese colonial caste system. Basically, he has an ethnicized nationlessness, whereas Sheva does not. Sheva is just listed as West African. Basically, we are given more information to work with when it comes to pinpointing Carlos's nationality, which contrasts greatly and directly to Sheva's situation. On one hand, we have fans speculating about where Carlos is from. I've seen forums on the internet that are just talking about different fan theories and stuff, and I think it's really fun. On the other hand, I and 5 other people are seemingly the only people asking about where Sheva Alomar is from. I'm going to go even as far to say that this type of fandom activity is important cultural work. Fans are able to speculate where Carlos is from because his identity feels locatable. He has a name and a backstory that helps signal recognizable regions to people. In the eyes of Western media, South America is made up of internal parts and is more than just a continent. This differs greatly to Sheva. You don't see the same type of fan discourse anywhere that I can find, at least. If you find something, please tell me. I really, really want to read it. I want to know what other people think about this because I'm like going crazy in my room. There's no discourse that I've been able to find that are along the lines of, is she Kenyan? Is she Nigerian? Is she Ghanaian? She is treated as self-evidently African, and her identity becomes the continent itself. Carlos and Sheva are both nationless, but in different ways. At no fault to the characters themselves, Carlos Oliveira's nationlessness invites localization, whereas Sheva Alomar's nationlessness invites generalization. Setting matters too. Carlos appears in a game that is set in the United States with an environment that is nationally specific. Sheva appears in a game set in an unnamed African country with an environment that lacks national specificity. She is essentially a local guide